Hello there and welcome. It's spiritual psychic Cynthia Killian here, also known as Psychic Cynthia. And welcome to you, fellow cosmic travelers and seekers on the higher spiritual psychic path. And happy new moon in Scorpio. Happy time of monthly renewal, rebirth, and in this case, transformation. This year's new moon in Scorpio and this month's new moon in Scorpio will take place exact on Monday, November 13th, 2023 at 3:27 Central Time, Central Standard USA Time. For those of you in Europe, I believe that will technically be on Sunday night, the night before, because you're ahead of us. So um, even though it's all happening at the same time, cosmically speaking, we understand it. But anyway, yes, we're going to start our week off ahead with a renewal with the new moon, an alignment, to be specific, a conjunction of the sun and the moon at 20 degrees Scorpio. And this particular new moon in Scorpio, by the way, we have one every year. That's why I said the annual. You're going to have a new moon in Scorpio every year during the time that the sun passes through Scorpio, somewhere in there. So usually in October or November. It just depends on the year and the movements of the heavenly bodies. This particular new moon in Scorpio is also being conjuncted by Mars in Scorpio. So Mars is right there in the mix. And there is also, to that whole trio, the sun, the moon, and the Mars in Scorpio are being activated and opposed. You might say challenge. Let's use the word challenge. The opposition is the actual aspect, but the way to understand the energies is there is a challenge, a tension with Uranus and Taurus. So just looking at this new moon in its primary meanings, in its fundamental, foundational meanings. Well, first of all, the new moon, this is the time to set your goals for the lunar month ahead. This is, some people say plant the seeds. I kind of hope you've already been planting the seeds a little bit in the fourth quarter. In the last week here. I hope you've been thinking about what you might want to move forward with. But if you haven't, the time of the new moon and the next few days afterwards, that's a good time for cosmic planning, for making your list for your short-term goals, okay? For goals that can be achieved in a new moon cycle, which is approximately, we'll say 29 days, 28 and a half days. A month. We'll just say a month, okay, to make it easy. The next new moon, I believe, is on December 12th. So what do you want to focus on? What's the one or two things, primary directives that you want to focus on seeding and creating and moving more into in this little lunar month of November 13th to December 12th? I want you to think about that. Now, of course, the sign of Scorpio flavors this rebirth, this monthly rebirth. And interestingly enough, Scorpio is a sign associated with rebirth, even more specifically transformation. One of the key words, maybe the main key word for Scorpio, one of them at least, is I desire. So there's a lot of passion here, and with this being conjuncted by Mars too, the desires are strong right now. Mars is the builder, and by the way, Mars is one of the ruling planets of Scorpio. So Mars acts as the builder, and it's also a protector. It helps to nurture our life force energy. But it also has a cleansing component to it, especially in the sign of Scorpio. So, yes, your passions are stimulated by this new moon. And by the way, your emotions too. Scorpio is a very emotional sign, so there might be a lot of old crap coming up, okay? You might find yourself thinking about different aspects of things that happened a long time ago, like from your childhood or several years back, wounds and traumas. A lot of this is associated with Scorpio, and that's because Scorpio is a healing sign. It is one of the healers of the zodiac. I mean, people forget that. They just think about the traumas and the difficulties associated with Scorpio. They forget that really the real essence of Scorpio isn't just the wounding, it's the healing. So there are many surgeons and doctors born under the sign of Scorpio, many healers that have that sign strong, or they have Pluto strong somehow in their chart, or even Mars. So there could be a lot of healing happening deep underneath the surface. a lot of releasing, and that is one of the things to focus on. It's kind of a double-faced focus, because on one hand, your passions are being stimulated, and yes, that does include your worldly desires, especially your desires to achieve, to uh, whether that is a spiritual achievement, to sharpen your psychic skills, to deepen your astrological knowledge, perhaps, to deepen self-understanding, because Scorpio delves into the depths. This is a sign of the depths. And also rises to the highest heights. That's the other part. You want to rise to the highest heights. So there is a little bit of ambition here, or mission, depending on where you're coming from. So think about, what's your passion right now, and how can you move towards that? And I will give you a clue if you're stuck, if you're feeling stuck, if you don't know what to do. Well, you can always get guidance if you don't know what to do, okay? And don't be afraid to ask for guidance from somebody in your life whom you trust, or just, yes, seek guidance when you need it. It's one of the drawbacks, I think, of our, at least American culture. We think we should be able to do everything on our own and know everything on our own, and guess what? You don't. Especially when you're trying to move forward towards something new, you're going to have to learn something, and you're going to have to get advice. Okay, so there's some great advice. But yes, you want to move forward, and if you feel weighed down, you might want to think about what your attachments are to the past that could be holding you back. And Scorpio is very much a sign of purging. So with this new moon activation, it isn't just about new beginnings. It is about cleansing and releasing and being passionate about that. So do you have stuff from the past, like physical stuff even? Do you own physical stuff that is purely for sentimental value and has no use in your life now, and maybe it doesn't even have a very useful sentimental value anymore? So do you have stuff that is carrying and holding you in the energy of the past? Get rid of it. I mean, it could be a t-shirt you got from 20 years ago where you went to a concert, or you went to, I don't know, some amusement park or some museum, and you never wear it anymore, and it's just taking up space. You might want to get rid of that, okay? And of course, there's the deeper work of the soul of releasing emotions, releasing old stories, release the false ways you view others. Maybe you have stories about others that you're running, and maybe you need to see a deeper truth about them. Positive or negative, it doesn't matter, because it's the truth. The truth is the truth. It's totally neutral, actually. So yeah, this is about a time where you can have new beginnings in the area of pursuing your passions, your ambitions, your mission. So plant those seeds, but also be confronting those deep feelings and releasing them and letting them move through you. Be letting go, and be letting go of stuff, physical objects that are holding you in the past. Especially with Uranus and Taurus right now activating and challenging Mars and Scorpio. Well, that's the challenge, because we want to hold on to things. We want to have new things, but we also are trying to hold on to things. You cannot, hear me, you cannot go forward and gravitate towards the new. I'm using the word gravitate here because gravity is a force of energy, right? You cannot move towards that new. Actually, you cannot while you're being held down by the gravity of the past. You either want the new or you want the old. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't things that are foundational in your life that go far back into your personal history, that, these things might create a framework. I'm not saying get rid of every good framework in your life. I mean, maybe, like, just in very mundane terms, maybe you have, a blouse that you like to wear, every 10 days because it really works for you. Fine. I mean, if it really works, if it's something from the past that came in from the past, but it still works for you, it still supports you in your growth. You have a long-term friendship, a friend that you go out with and have coffee with every month or every week, and it's still very positive. That is wonderful. And these are the beautiful expressions of that Taurus energy, the Uranus and Taurus. So that's the connections to the stability you want to keep. But there's probably a lot we need to simplify, we need to let go of. Uh, decluttering your life, your relationships on many levels, um, simplifying things so that you can move forward to go after your passion, uh, and be willing to defend your passion in the sense that be willing to defend carving out time to pursue your passion. If it's important to you, if it means something to you, then don't let anybody else make you feel small because you want to carve out some time to pursue that. Do you understand what I'm saying? I hope so. Alrighty, well, I like the new moon in Scorpio energies for us. There is a bit of agitation, okay, and tension with Mars opposing Uranus and all working on this axis. And so with that opposition, there will be, just like what the aspect is called, there will be challenges. You will be opposed. I think one of the ways to deal with oppositions when they activate in our life, with opposition, with challenges, is to seek harmony, to seek cooperation. So if there is a force or a person or something happening in your life that feels like it's going against you, but it could even be like your health feels like it's going against you, then instead of fighting your health, you want to lean into it and do what you can to cooperate with your health and your natural cycles of whether you feel good or not. For example, the handshake is sometimes more powerful than drawing the sword. But then sometimes I know you have to, metaphorically speaking, by the way, I'm speaking in metaphors here, sometimes you have to fight and defend, and there is a time for that. There's a time to stand our ground. And I will say with this Scorpio Taurus energy, nobody wants to back down. And yes, stay true to your principles, but also remember and to be aware of when something's really not worth fighting about. Because there's a lot in life that really isn't worth fighting about. And most of us do spend a tremendous amount of energy debating and fighting about things that don't really, at the end of the day, make that much of a difference to our life. Instead of fighting for what really matters, our purpose, our passions, our sense of meaning, our spiritual connection, those are the things worth fighting about, well, not fighting about, fighting for, okay? Standing up for, living for. Living for. Actually, you could substitute the word fighting for with the phrase living for, So what is worth getting out of bed every day? What excites you? That's what to focus on. Follow that passion with Scorpio and let it work a regeneration in you. Just remember to let go of the stuff that's weighing you down, because that's going to impede your renewal here. But otherwise, you should be fine, and this can be a time of really new downloads, new awakening, and clearing out of old energies that need to go. Alrighty, happy new moon in Scorpio. Happy time of transformation and rebirth. Until next time, I'm Psychic Cynthia, wishing you many bright and cosmic blessings. Bye.